Things to quietly eliminate from your life lessons, from Stoicism. Your life is full of things that drain your energy and hold you back. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you keep carrying them? Sometimes, the greatest act of courage isn't making noise. It's quietly letting go of everything that no longer adds value to your life. Toxic relationships, self-destructive habits, unnecessary worries. And the best part? You don't need anyone's approval to do it. Today, I'm going to show you how to apply a powerful principle. Releasing what you can't control and setting yourself free. Because in the end, life is too short to be weighed down by other people's expectations. I'll walk you through the things that might be causing chaos in your life without you even realizing it. If you don't take action, you might lose something even more valuable, your peace of mind. So why not start now, with no excuses? Remember, what you choose to let go of says far more about you than what you desperately hold on to. But first, let me tell you a story. Helena's lesson. The fisherwoman, in a seaside village, there lived Helena, a skilled fisherwoman who could navigate even the roughest waters. Over the years, she had accumulated broken nets and worn-out tools, things she no longer used but still carried out of habit. One day, a violent storm rolled in. The sea was raging, and Helena realized that all the unnecessary weight was making it harder to steer her boat. As she battled the waves, she had a revelation. The real problem wasn't the storm. It was the extra burden she had chosen to keep. In the midst of the chaos, she made a decision. She started throwing out everything that no longer served her. The torn nets, the old ropes, even some objects she had grown attached to, but that only took up space. With each thing she let go of, her boat became lighter and easier to navigate. The storm raged on. But now, Helena could face it. When she finally made it back to shore, exhausted but safe, her fellow fishermen asked how she had survived. With a calm smile, she replied, "In life, we cling to so many things we don't actually need. Objects, memories, people. But only when we choose to let go of the useless can we find the freedom to move forward." And that's the big lesson. Sometimes what's holding you back isn't what you lack, it's what you refuse to let go of. Now let's dive into the first step to making your life lighter and more focused, overcoming the fear of other people's opinions. But before we begin, if this kind of content resonates with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. Let's do this. The fear of other people's opinions. How many decisions in your life have been shaped by the fear of what others might think? This fear creeps into your mind, holding you back from being your true self, as if you're constantly under a spotlight, when, in reality, no one is actually paying that much attention. Know why? Because most people are too busy dealing with their own insecurities to judge you, and yet you freeze. The fear of others' opinions is like a silent parasite, feeding on your dreams and whispering in your ear every time you consider doing something new. What if they don't approve? Without even noticing, you start adapting to other people's expectations and drifting further away from who you really are. The irony? We spend so much time trying to impress people who, in many cases, aren't even a meaningful part of our lives. It's like our internal compass is broken. We don't follow what we truly want. We follow what society dictates. We put on masks to fit in at work, with friends, and even on social media. But what about your real self? The one hidden beneath forced smiles and borrowed opinions? Sometimes this fear disguises itself as caution. You convince yourself that now's not the right time, or maybe I'm not good enough. And so you keep postponing your dreams to a future that never comes. If you want to break free once and for all, you need to shift your mindset. The truth is, you can't control what others think, but you can control how you respond to it. It's a daily exercise in courage and authenticity. It's about making choices that make you happy, instead of just pleasing others. Because at the end of the day, life is far too short to be lived under the weight of external approval. Start small. Silently eliminate what no longer serves you. Are you forcing yourself to maintain an image that doesn't reflect who you really are? Have you chosen a path that doesn't fulfill you just because it seemed like the safest option? Let go of those chains. Say no to commitments that don't align with your values. Do something you've always wanted to do without worrying about judgment. Each small action is a step toward freedom. I won't lie. There will be days when the weight of others' opinions feels overwhelming. But remember, every time you live to please others, you lose a piece of who you truly are. So, quietly start letting go of what doesn't belong to you. Learn to trust your own judgment, because at the end of the day, the only opinion that truly matters is yours. As Carl Jung once said, freedom begins the moment you stop worrying about what others think of you. Toxic relationships. When it's time to let go, you've probably heard the saying, there's none so blind as those who will not see. The truth is, we often choose this selective blindness when it comes to our own relationships. We get used to being around people who take more than they give, who slowly drain our energy. And still, we hold on to them as if they were indispensable. And don't think this only happens in romantic relationships. Toxic relationships can show up anywhere, in the family, among friends, at work. The curious thing? No one is forcing you to keep them. But there you are, tolerating what harms you, as if letting go were an act of cruelty. Maybe because we've been taught that cutting ties is a sign of weakness, when in reality, it could be the greatest act of self-love you can show. Ancient philosophers taught us something powerful. We can't control others, but we can decide who we keep close. And that's the key. If a relationship weighs you down more than it lifts you up, you have the right and the duty to step away. No fights, no unnecessary explanations, no drama. Just let go. Think of it like a plant that no longer blooms. You don't need to pull it out with anger or announce it to the world. Just stop watering it. And that's okay. The plant will go its way, you'll go yours, and life moves on. So how do you identify a toxic relationship? Simple. If every message from this person gives you a knot in your stomach, if being with them drains you more than a full day of work, if you're always giving and never receiving, the answer is already there. Once you see it clearly, start stepping back. Reduce contact. Prioritize your peace. You don't need grand gestures or dramatic farewells. Just stop being available, and you know what happens next? Freedom. Because self-love isn't always about saying no out loud. Often it's about saying enough in silence. In the end, some people are like the wind. You feel their presence, but you can't hold on to them. So just let them go. Self-destructive habits. How to break free. Without the drama, have you ever caught yourself repeating small habits that deep down, you know are getting you nowhere? They seem harmless at first, but over time, they slowly drain your mental and physical well-being without you even noticing. I've fallen into this trap more times than I'd like to admit. Self-destructive habits are like a slow drip. Silent, yet capable of wearing down even the strongest foundation. And the worst part? We often don't realize the damage until we're completely drained. The first step to change is recognizing these patterns. And that's the hard part. It's easy to spot flaws in others, but seeing them in ourselves takes courage. Think about your daily routine. You wake up and before even getting out of bed, you're already on your phone. Not because you need to be, but out of pure habit. Seems small, right? Until you realize you just lost 20 minutes mindlessly scrolling, overstimulating your brain before your day has even begun. And it doesn't stop there. That extra cup of coffee you didn't really need. That conversation you knew wasn't worth. Having that TV show you're not even enjoying but keep watching out of inertia. Tiny, seemingly insignificant things that, when added up, create a massive gap in your well-being. But breaking free from these habits doesn't have to be a battle. How many times have you promised yourself you'd quit something, only to do even more of it the next day? The secret isn't in making drastic overnight changes. It's in small, consistent adjustments. The Stoic philosophers knew this well. Real transformation happens quietly, step by step, almost without you noticing. You don't have to throw your phone out the window to break free from social media addiction. Just start by catching yourself. In the act, the moment you notice you're reaching for your phone out of habit, pause, put it down and do something else. Take a deep breath, stretch. If you feel the urge for that third cup of coffee, ask yourself, do I really need this, or is it just routine? Small acts of awareness are far more powerful than impulsive decisions. That doesn't mean you're suddenly going to become a perfect person. We all have our internal battles, and that's okay. What matters is approaching them with strategy, patience, and consistency, like a drop of water that, instead of eroding, slowly polishes and refines your life. And if it ever feels like nothing is changing, remember this: what seems like an insignificant effort today will become a major breakthrough tomorrow, like a seed growing in silence, unnoticed, until one day it stands strong as a tree. So next time you catch yourself stuck in a habit that's holding you back, just let it go. No drama. No need to announce it to the world. Just take one step at a time. The burden of wanting to control everything. Have you ever felt like if you don't have complete control over everything, the world might fall apart? If so, you're not alone. We like to believe that if we plan every detail, prevent every setback, and organize everything to perfection, life will run like a well-oiled machine where nothing can go wrong. But reality doesn't work that way. And even though we know this, we still insist on trying to control every aspect of our lives. The problem? The more we try to control everything, the more we lose our balance. The need for absolute control is a mental prison. We build this cage brick by brick, convinced that with enough effort, everything will go exactly as planned. But the universe has its own plans. Think about the things we try to control: the weather, people's opinions, how others react, the outcomes of our efforts. None of these are truly in our hands. It's like trying to hold back the tide with our bare hands. Nothing but wasted energy. And when things don't go our way, we feel frustrated, as if life is somehow being unfair. Now, imagine you're carrying a backpack. Every attempt to control the uncontrollable is a stone added to it. At first, the weight seems manageable, but over time the load becomes unbearable, and in the end that's what crushes you. I've been there. I spent years trying to anticipate every detail of my life, worrying about problems that often never even happened. I planned every conversation, every outing, every situation. The result? More anxiety, less peace. Until I realized that all this effort wasn't giving me more control, it was just weighing me down. So I started letting go, little by little. And to my surprise, things kept happening. Some good, some not so good. But I felt lighter, because I had stopped carrying what was never mine to hold in the first place. Letting go of control doesn't mean being passive. It means having the maturity to accept that some things are beyond our reach, and that's okay. Allow yourself to make room for the unexpected, for surprises, for the natural flow of life. And remember, sometimes letting go is the most powerful way to take control. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, true control lies in the ability to let go of the uncontrollable. Unrealistic expectations, how to free yourself from the invisible burden. Have you ever felt like you need to be perfect? Like you have to meet everyone's expectations, including your own, to be successful? If so, you're not alone. This pressure doesn't come from just one place. It's in silent comparisons, approving glances, and even well-intentioned comments. We grow up believing we need to live up to unrealistic standards to be valued. But here's the truth. Trying to meet impossible expectations is like trying to fill a bottomless pit with a leaky bucket. You never quite get there, and in the end, all you're left with is frustration. The craziest part? Many of these expectations aren't even ours. They were shaped by family, society, and the environment we grew up in. But in our quest to be better, we accept carrying them as if they were our own. Now try this quick test. How many times have you felt disappointed for not achieving something that, deep down, you didn't even really want? Exactly. We create absurd goals, and when we fail, we feel like we're not enough. If I'm not the best at my job, the perfect partner, the ideal friend, the exemplary son or daughter, then what's left of me? The truth is, these expectations weigh more than our actual actions. It's like running a marathon with a backpack full of rocks. You move slowly, get exhausted quickly, And even if you reach the finish line, it feels like you barely made it. Let go of expectations and live with more ease. The key. Lighten the load. Adjusting your expectations doesn't mean settling. It means freeing yourself. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we can't control what others think of us, nor can we guarantee that life will always work in our favor. But we can control how we respond to it. How about a quick exercise? Imagine your mind is an overstuffed closet. It's time to declutter. First, toss out the expectations that aren't truly yours. Then, go through your own expectations and ask yourself, are they realistic? Do they make sense for my life right now? Letting go of this weight doesn't happen overnight, but even a small shift can make a difference. One simple change. Adjust the way you talk to yourself. Instead of saying, I have to do everything perfectly, try thinking, I'll do the best I can with what I have right now. It may sound simple, but this mindset shift brings more freedom. You make room for mistakes, because you're human, and allow growth to happen without the pressure of being flawless all the time. Another powerful trick: stop telling everyone your plans. The fewer people who know your goals, the fewer external expectations you'll have to carry. After all, a lot of the pressure we feel comes more from others than from ourselves. Fewer expectations, more freedom. Letting go of expectations isn't giving up, it's wisdom. Instead of worrying about what you should do or be, focus on what you actually want and what's within your control. Keep this in mind. The less you expect, the lighter you become. So take a deep breath and release what was never yours to hold. Life flows better when we stop carrying the weight of the impossible, the illusion of always being right. How to free yourself from this need? Have you ever felt that urge to always be right? Like every conversation is a competition, and the only way to win is to prove you know more? This need to always be right isn't a battle against others, it's a war against yourself. Every time you insist on having the last word, you're telling yourself that your worth depends on it. But at the end of the day, all that's left is exhaustion, anxiety, and loneliness. Society has made us believe that being wrong equals failure. Social media, work meetings, even family gatherings reinforce this idea. But let me tell you a secret. Being right, most of the time, is irrelevant. Stoic philosophy teaches that we can't control what others think of us, so why try so hard? The relentless pursuit of being right only makes you more tense, more frustrated, and, ironically, less wise. The invisible weight of always wanting to be right. Ever noticed how some people seem completely drained after an argument? It's because they carry the weight of every battle. It's like packing a suitcase full of unnecessary rocks until the load becomes unbearable. Now ask yourself, what do you really gain from being right? An invisible medal? A fleeting moment of superiority? In the end, is it worth sacrificing your peace for this? The power of letting go. Next time you feel the urge to correct someone or force your opinion, try silence, not as a form of defeat, but as an act of freedom. Imagine holding a pen for hours without realizing it. The moment you release it, you feel instant relief. The same happens when you let go of the need to always be right. You suddenly realize you were caught in a battle you never actually wanted to fight. How to overcome this need? Accept that you don't have to know everything. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not have an opinion on everything. Life isn't a wisdom contest. Learn to listen, not just hear. There's a huge difference between the two. Hearing is biological. Listening is an art. When you listen without the intention of responding, the anxiety to impose your point of view disappears. Embrace silence. Not every conversation needs a winner. Sometimes the best response is simply letting the other person have the last word. Prioritize your peace, not your ego. Is being right really worth it if it costs you your tranquility? Fewer battles, more wisdom. The Stoics understood this well. True wisdom isn't about winning every argument. It's about knowing when not to fight. So, in your next conversation, before you correct or challenge someone, take a deep breath and let go of the pen. you'll realize the peace you feel is far more valuable than any temporary victory. Digital noise: how to escape the chaos and reclaim your attention. Have you noticed how you're constantly surrounded by noise? And I'm not just talking about traffic or your neighbor's drill. The real noise is in your hands, in your eyes, in your pocket. Notifications, social media, endless messages. Everything is designed to capture your attention and keep you hooked on a flood of stimuli. And the worst part? You think you're in control, but in reality, digital chaos is controlling you. We live in an era where silence has become a luxury. But believe me, this luxury is more accessible than you think. The first step is recognizing what's truly stealing your attention, and then, without fear, cutting out what doesn't add value. Social media. Less is more, yes, it sounds obvious. But the more accounts you follow, the more noise you create. Do you really need to keep up with a distant acquaintance or a random influencer? Do a ruthless digital cleanse. Keep only what truly inspires you or adds value to your life. Pro tip: try going offline for a while, like a digital detox on weekends. You'll be surprised how much lighter your mind feels. Notifications. Take back your attention. Your phone rings, vibrates, lights up. And with each distraction, your brain wastes unnecessary energy. The result? Less focus, more mental fatigue. The solution? Turn off all non-essential notifications. At first you might feel anxious, but soon you'll realize how freeing it is to decide when and how you check your phone. The fear of missing out, the modern-day villain. We live with the constant fear that if we're not online, we'll miss something important. But here's a hard truth: what really matters isn't on your screen, it's happening around you. Think about the moments you've lost because you were glued to your phone. The time spent scrolling could have been used for a real conversation, learning something new, or simply being present. Free yourself from this fear. You don't have to be everywhere. The more you try to keep up with everything online, the more you lose sight of what actually matters. The true meaning of digital silence. When you strip away unnecessary noise, something powerful happens. You begin to hear what actually matters. Digital silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of awareness. You reconnect with yourself, your thoughts, and your priorities. What once felt urgent loses its grip, and what's truly important becomes clear. Stoic philosophy teaches that we can't control what happens around us, but we can control how we react to it. When we eliminate digital chaos, we reclaim our peace, our energy, and our time. So choose silence, not as an escape, but as a source of power, because in the end, that is the true luxury of our time. Peace doesn't come when the noise stops, but when you choose to listen to yourself. Mahatma Gandhi, Negative Thoughts. How to silence mental noise and take back your power. Have you ever noticed how negative thoughts sneak into your mind without permission? They slip in quietly, and before you know it, they've taken control. They're like those unwelcome guests who show up unannounced, and worse, refuse to leave. And often, you end up handing them the keys. Not because you want to, but because you've been convinced they're inevitable. But what if I told you that you could simply change the lock? The truth about negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are nothing more than destructive patterns that over time shape your actions and how you see the world. Have you ever caught yourself thinking things like, "Why does everything always go wrong for me? I'll never make it." The more you repeat these thoughts, the more you start to believe them. And worse, you act as if they're true. It's like planting a poison tree and then wondering why the fruit is rotten. But here's the secret. Negative thoughts aren't reality. They only feel real because you feed them with your attention. And this is where a powerful principle comes into play. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond to it. So how do you eliminate these thoughts from your life? Let's get straight to the point. The power of silence. Stop feeding negative thoughts. The first key is simple. Don't give these thoughts center stage. That doesn't mean you should forcefully ignore or fight them. Instead, just recognize them when they appear and don't engage. Think of a fly buzzing around the room. If you obsess over catching it, you'll only make it worse. But if you ignore it, it eventually flies away. Negative thoughts work the same way. Give them less attention and watch them lose their grip. Question the reality of your thoughts. Whenever a destructive thought pops up, ask yourself, is this really true? Or is my mind just exaggerating the situation? Most of the time you'll realize that negative thoughts are just distortions, not actual facts. And even if there's some truth to them, instead of staying stuck in the problem, you can shift your focus to finding solutions. Detachment. You are not your thoughts. Here's a liberating concept. Your thoughts do not define you. Just because something crosses your mind doesn't mean you have to accept it or carry it with you. Try observing your thoughts like clouds in the sky. They come and go, but the sky remains steady, unshaken. The more you practice emotional detachment, the less power negative thoughts will have over you. Your thoughts shape your reality. What you think influences what you do. And what you do determines who you become and what you achieve. That's why you must choose wisely which thoughts you nurture. At the end of the day, your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. The choice is yours. Thoughts are not facts, but if you believe them, they become your reality. Brian Tracy. Physical and mental clutter. How the chaos around you affects your mind and what to do about it. Have you ever woken up feeling like the world is heavier than usual? You look around and realize it's not just in your head. Piles of papers, scattered clothes, accumulated objects, and somehow your mind feels just as cluttered as your space. The truth is, physical and mental clutter are deeply connected. Your surroundings directly impact your mental clarity. And contrary to what many believe, excess doesn't just take up physical space, it drains your mental energy too. Every item out of place, every unused object isn't just mess. It's noise. A constant, invisible noise filling your mind, with distractions, unfinished tasks, and subconscious worries. But how do you break free from this cycle? Let's get straight to it. The first step. Observe and question. What truly matters? Before thinking about organizing, ask yourself one simple question. Do I really need all of this? If you haven't used something in months or years, chances are you don't need it. The same goes for unnecessary thoughts and worries. If they're not adding value to your life, it's time to let them go. The real secret isn't in organizing, it's in eliminating the excess. Fewer things. More mental clarity. Clutter doesn't just exist in the physical world. Many of us hold on to negative thoughts, worries, and doubts like old belongings we might need one day. But does keeping them make sense? The answer is no. Just as a cluttered environment weighs you down, a cluttered mind blocks your ability to see clearly. The solution? Let go. Free yourself from what no longer serves you, both physically and mentally. Eliminate in silence. No drama, no justifications. You don't need to make it a big event. You don't need to justify, announce, or ask for permission. Just let it go. People who drain your energy, projects that no longer excite you, thoughts that only bring anxiety. Every time you release something, you lift a weight off your shoulders, a step closer to a lighter, clearer life. Your space, your mind, how the outer world reflects your inner world. Notice how small changes in your environment bring an immediate sense of relief. A clean desk improves focus. Fewer objects around you mean fewer distractions. An organized space reduces anxiety. This isn't a coincidence. When you simplify your surroundings, your mind finally finds room to breathe. Letting go to see clearly, living in clutter, physically or mentally, is like wandering through a maze with no exit. But as you begin to clear away the excess, you'll realize the exit was always there. You just couldn't see it. If you want more mental peace, start by decluttering what's around you. Do it quietly, consistently, without pressure. Your mind will thank you. When the noise fades, the essential becomes clear. Nelson Mandela. The problem of unnecessary comparisons. How to overcome it and focus on your own journey. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to fall into the trap of comparison? We've all done it, and the truth is, it doesn't help at all. It's like running a race where the other competitors don't even know they're in the race, and honestly, they probably don't care. Meanwhile, you're there, measuring every step, every stumble, comparing yourself to others, but never to yourself. Comparing yourself is like trying to sing a song with someone else's voice. It doesn't make sense. You have your own melody, your own rhythm, but you keep trying to follow someone else's sheet music. The problem is, this habit slowly chips away at your self-esteem. You start feeling not good enough, not fast enough, basically, not enough in many areas of life. And it's all because you're more focused on what others are doing than on your own path. The truth is, life isn't a race. It's more like a boat journey. You choose the direction, the stops, and the pace. If you keep looking at the boats around you, what happens? You end up steering off course. And the most curious thing, while you're busy watching others, they're probably doing the same with you. This absurd comparison is a trap we all fall into, and the worst part is that no one enjoys their own journey. Stop comparing and free yourself. It's time to stop comparing yourself. And the best way to do this is quietly. Eliminate this habit from your life without making a big deal out of it, like getting rid of an old t-shirt that no longer fits. No one needs to know, but you'll feel the difference. Comparing yourself to others isn't just pointless. It's a betrayal of yourself. When you compare, you're telling your inner self that you're not enough, that you need to be someone else to have value. But stop and think. This philosophy doesn't make sense. The Stoics taught that the only valid comparison is with who you were yesterday. How to overcome comparison. 3. Simple strategies. Question your thoughts. When the urge to compare comes up, don't try to silence it. Listen to what it says, but question its logic. Ask yourself, why am I comparing myself to this person? What exactly makes you feel inferior? Stop and reflect on what you've already accomplished. Often we forget how far we've come when we're always looking at others. Practice gratitude. Yes, I know. It might sound like a cliché, but it's incredibly powerful. When you focus on what you have, your achievements, and who you are, the comparison fades away. You realize that the only journey that matters is your own. Live at your own pace. Life is too short to spend time competing with others. When you stop comparing yourself, you discover true freedom. Living life on your own terms with your own rules is liberating. When you stop seeing yourself through the eyes of others, you discover who you truly are. This was one of the greatest lessons I learned during the hardest times in my life. If this content was helpful to you, leave a comment. If you don't know what to say, just comment grateful, and I'll know you watched until the end. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now and join us. Stoicism is full of lessons like this, and I encourage you to keep learning this transformative philosophy.